And it's not the Home Alone either. It's not the
No,
Home
you know
Alone
what?
thing.
You know what it is? Have you seen Scary Movie 3 when they do the parody of 8 Mile and he's got the hoodie on? Has anyone seen that?
There's a reason I've got this beanie on.
Oh, baby's sick.
Do we want to
tonight.
know?
Huh?
Bit of a cough.
Do we want to know?
Yeah, Joe, come on, keep going, Joe, because my fucking rant's about you, I'll tell you that much.
He's got it in for me tonight because I haven't.
My rant's completely directed at Joe, Jules.
It is.
Completely.
It is.
Can't wait.
Tonight's going to be good, boys. Hey, we got a bit to talk about, not just footy-wise, but we've got Dan's new segment. It's got the intro coming up. These boys haven't even seen it yet, so they're going to be. I want to get their genuine reaction to what we've put together. We can talk about the salami, Jules, as well. Let's just hit this intro so we can. First off, we can start, but so that we can get through it, so Dan can go to bed and actually get some sleep this thing off.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I'll give no credit to this side ever. I'll give no respect to this side. John O'Rourke, honorary Blues brother, Will Hayes.
Yes.
Mr. Paul Sebastiani, welcome back to the show, mate.
This one game is a build-up of, a year's worth of work.
That's if you think of his performance.
And I gave my opinion.
It's an opinion-based podcast, fair enough. Welcome, everyone, to episode 98 of the Almost Blues Brothers podcast, brought to you by Piota Health and Performance and proudly powered by the Blue Abroad Podcast Network and YouTube channel. If you haven't already, like and subscribe to the Blue Abroad YouTube channel while you're here. Helps us all out that create content for this community. First off, before we get into this, just a shout out to Jasmina from the Carlton Besties. She's going through a bit of a rough patch this week. She's part of the family, and thoughts out to her and her family while she's going through this. But check out the Besties. Their content is very, very good. And please send your thoughts to Jasmina as well during a tough time. Now, first off, we've got to address something real quick because Dan looks like we said off the top, Jules said he looks like someone from Home Alone. I reckon he just looks homeless. Dan, what's happening?
Well, that's not. I'm obviously sick. You heard me this morning. I sounded like who's the bloke that plays Batman, Jules? I sound like Batman anyway with my voice, but
You're
you heard it, yeah, Joe?
Batman.
Real dark. Yeah.
Jules, it's been a couple of times that both you and I have been sick on this podcast, and Dan, what's Dan's reaction been to that?
He's hammering us.
Yeah, get over it. Don't want to fucking know. So guess what? No one cares. No one.
The worst thing about it is what do I do when I cough?
Yeah.
What do you
say?
reckon?
What do you say?
You mute yourself.
What?
What do you say to me about the cough button, Jules?
The what?
I said to mute it.
You want me to mute when you cough?
Yeah, that's what he wanted to do. Ridiculous.
I'm gonna be busy coughing into my arm, Joe.
Not my problem.
Anyway, you're the one that bought up the beanie. So you're obviously asking how I am.
You said
what is the beanie?
Yeah.
What's it for? What's its reasoning?
If you must know, this beanie now is. Why are you laughing? This beanie now is going to signify my belief for the Carlton Football Club again. And I'm going to keep this beanie on every time I believe in him. And when the lid comes off, I'm going to launch this thing that far into the wall. It's a joke.
Okay. Fair enough.
That's what it's for.
So you're wearing the beanie until the lid comes off?
Until the lid comes off.
When does the lid come off? Is it if we win this week?
What's that?
Is it if we win this week? Is that when it comes off?
I tell you, it's not going to be a good reaction when I launch it across the room, is it?
You've actually stolen something I was going to do tonight without knowing, but that's fine. Jules,
is it going to slightly come off as the season progresses, or
yeah?
Is
So
it
if we beat Port, I'll have it like this.
Jules, how are you, man?
Good, boys. Just ticking along nicely as the Carlton has been the last few weeks. So it's been good. It's been good.
Comment from Pommy here. If you watch the Blue Abroad show, you know what this would be about. Port are a massive club. Are they? Fuck. Yeah. Same as Freo. No, Jules. What did we get to do on the weekend, Bellor? Which was a little early gift for us that we didn't think would be cracking open.
We actually did. We sliced open a bit of salami. So one of the smaller ones was, it was actually quite tasty, which was good. Obviously, we're still waiting for the larger ones to sort of mature, I guess, and hopefully the next few weeks we'll be able to open up all of them. So it'd be good.
I've been making salami for about 10 years, and I'll say this right now: it's the pepperiest salami I've ever made. First and foremost, it was very peppery.
I think I told you to put more pepper,
but it was good. It was good. Really liked it.
Bit of a bite to it.
Bit of bite. But hey, like we said when we made it, if you don't like pepper, you can fuck off. It's more for us. It's good.
Yeah, that's it.
If you are new, welcome to the show tonight. If you're returning, welcome back. If you haven't already, follow us on Instagram at Almost Blues Brothers and on Twitter at Almost Blues Bros, approaching 1,000 followers there. And now on Threads, which I don't use much. I don't know what Threads is about yet, but at Almost Blues Brothers on Threads as well. And that's it for the formalities. You got
Pommy wants to join. Pommy wants to sign up to Piota.
There you go.
Wants a rig.
Proper rig.
Pommy, like everyone, man, put an inquiry through the website and we'll get back to you shortly.
Oh, Jesus. I think we can just give him your number. He wants biceps like Charlie. That's what he's saying on the Blue Broad Show tonight. Now, thank you for joining us. We've got a few here with us tonight. We are going to get into this very, very quickly. We've got a lot to discuss. We've got a big game to discuss. These boys have said the lid's not off yet. If you've seen me on fan cams, if you've seen me in the live chat on the Blue Broad Show before this, you know where I'm at. And I'm going to show you a bit about where I'm at tonight. But before we get there, without any further ado,
let's get into it.
Now, before we get into the footy, Dan's been itching for this, and we did it last week. There was no intro, there was no name for the segment, and I want to shout out Damo Munier, I hope I've said that name right, on Instagram, who inspired the name for Dan's new segment. Everyone's been saying Dan hammers, Dan rants, Dan digresses, all of these sort of things. We're gonna kick off with this tonight because you're sick, and I know what this rant's already about, so it's on topic before we get into the footy. So without any further ado, Dan's new segment.
Keep calm. Count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10.
Not happy, Dan!
That's unbelievable.
How good's that? I've never seen Joe more excited to release a segment till when we did the Book of Judd. Hey, Joe.
I'll tell you something. The Damo on Instagram, fantastic
That's
name.
bold.
But when I knew it was good when my missus laughed at it, because she doesn't laugh too often at things that I do. So it had to be done. It had to be done.
That's very good. That's very
Off
good.
you go. Kick us off.
Wow. First official segment of Not Happy Dan, and I'm not happy. And Joe, why he's laughing already? Because I'm not. I'm sick.
This is just like a 360 feedback session, but it's only 180 because just Pov is just going to hammer one of us every week, Jules.
I get 360 feedback every week. So here's yours, Joe. And this is directly to only Joe. And it's not going to be about you boys every week because I had something else planned. But you gave me beautiful material, Joe, yesterday. And thank you for this. Yesterday, you messaged me to go to a mate's house to watch the game. And I get it. I get you're all excited to watch it with me. We watch the game every week with me, you and Jules, and you want me there. But when I say to you, like what you say,
Jules, I wanted Jules there too, to be fair.
I said Jules. I did say Jules. Don't interrupt me, please. All right. Now listen. When you message me or you message Jules and you say, "Hey boys, not feeling the best. Hey boys, I'm just going to stay in." We go, "No problem, Joe. Get better."
No way.
Cool? We do.
No way.
Yesterday, I told you I just wanted to watch it from home. I've had big weeks of work and I'm not feeling the best. And you go, "That's fucking rubbish."
Yeah.
You did.
I did. I can say I did.
Completely no respect for me, understanding the hours that I'm doing. No care. Then you get the host who wanted to have us over, and he messages me going, I better see you in 5 minutes.
Yep.
Then you say, not good enough, get your ass here. And you
Yep.
kept pestering and pestering and
Yep.
pestering. Oh, Joe, don't worry, mate. When you're sick, I'm going to be on your doorstep. Don't worry. Yep. Dan's coming for you, Joe.
There's a couple of lies in there, but that's all right. I'm happy to move on. That's fine. What did I say to you today when you called and you sound like Batman this morning? And what was the first thing I said to you?
Get better.
If we're to tell the truth, what did I say to you?
Don't worry about doing the pod.
And I said, go home and have a sleep.
Okay. So why were you being all fake in front of your friends yesterday trying to hammer me?
I didn't know you were that sick. I've never seen you like this.
He loves the stage Paysan, don't you reckon?
Oh, no, it's just all two-faced. I can't handle it anymore.
Whatever. You know what? I'll just take it on board, I guess. Yeah, I'll take on feedback and I'll just change I'm the one that has to change as a human on this podcast, apparently, just me. So that's fine. That's another week that Joe's just got to take on feedback. You done now? We done?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I hope you get better. And I hope by next week you're better. And I hope you have a good rest tonight once we're done here. Let's get into this game, boys, because it was another fantastic week of football if you're a Carlton fan. And finals are well and truly. We are well. I'll get there. Final scores from Sunday. Fremantle, 6-9-45. Carlton, 14-14-98. Goal scorers for the Blues, McGovern, Kennedy, Fogarty, Doherty, Cottrell, Chera with 1 each. Owies with 2. And the big boppers, Charlie Curnow, Harry Mackay with 3 each. The only injury, well, there's 2 injuries, but the major one was Kennedy. Coming out of the game, was replaced by George Hewitt in the third quarter with that knee. We're not sure what's going on with Kennedy just yet. I don't think there's been any news. And McGovern came off late with a little cork to the thigh, but he should be okay, you would think. Boys, where are you at with this? And if you're watching live, I just want to know the answer to one thing. If you're watching live in the chat, is the lid on or is the lid off?
On.
Dan?
On.
Yeah. The reason being is because I mean it's obviously 7 games to go, but obviously, the last few seasons when the pressure is on, and I mean really on, we don't really live up to expectations. So, I'm in the camp. I'm pretty much waiting until we're in finals before the lid's coming off. Paysan?
I agree with you on the fact that I'm waiting to see when, like what you mentioned, Jules, when the pressure's on the boys and when the chips are down, can they claw back? But for me, the lid, and I don't want to reveal when the lid's going to be off because it's part of what I mentioned before, but it's got to be something in the fact that we're making finals footy. That's when the lid's coming off. Here we go.
Fuck that. You guys are fucked. I'm sorry. I'm not doing this shit. We've got 7 games left, man. That's gone for me. That's it. We might lose to Port on Saturday, and we'll get there. We'll preview this, right? But for me, seen enough. That performance against Fremantle backed up the 2 weeks prior, and we are a completely different team to what we were 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, but 100%. But, the 10, 11, 12 rounds last season, we were completely different size to the latter stages of, the season last year as well. And obviously even like the middle part of the season so far, we were. So, look, I reckon I'm firmly in the camp, like I said before, that we're still got to, live up to expectations in terms of the talent that we do have on our list. And, to be honest with you, I think the teams that we did beat by over 50 points, Gold Coast, Freo, and Hawthorn, potentially we should have beaten by this amount anyway. But like I said, even if they're around us or not, but we need to, even if we do beat Port, and that's a big if, obviously Saturday night, the lid is really on because they need to because I feel like as well is because the expectation in terms of the media of not actually trying to be, we're not, the pressure's been off the last few weeks.
This team,
off, and I think that's the reason why the boys are
Can I say something?
A little,
I'll be talking.
High risk footy, and they're getting reward from it. But it's whether they're going to be able to do that when like Paysan said, when the chips are down. We haven't seen it yet. That's when we need
Jules,
to see it. And time will
Jules,
tell.
you made a comment about we should have been beating these teams by this margin. What in the first 14 weeks told you that we should have beaten any team by those margins in the last 3 weeks? Because the profile of this team prior to the last 3 weeks told me that we probably should have lost to the Gold Coast with the way they were travelling. Probably should have been a much closer game against Hawthorn. There is no way that we should have gone on a road trip.
Because I look.
Hold on. Hey, I'll let you speak. And that we should have gone on a road trip to Perth and did to Freo what we did to Freo. I'm not talking about final score. I'm talking about the fact that in the last 3 weeks, name me a time ever with this team. Even look at the first 10 weeks of last year. Name me a time where we controlled 12 consecutive quarters of football. Name me a time.
So disregard that for a second.
No. Answer my question. No.
I'm going to be answering your question. And the reason is, for the first half of last year, when there was no pressure, we played well. Then to the back half, in terms of actually solidifying ourselves in the 8 and potentially in the top 4, we couldn't do it because we were under that pressure. This time around, the start of the year, we won 4. Pressure started building. Couldn't do it, and now we'll see where we are come the end of the season. But it's when the chips are down, like against Sydney, like against Essendon in that third quarter, like against St Kilda. All right, when the pressure's on, are we able to fulfill our expectations? And at this point in the time, we're not capable of it. Should we be beating these sides when we are at our best? 100%.
100% we should.
The issue is we are playing like as if we are free because we don't have that expectation where everyone sort of have written us off over the course of the last month or so. That's the issue.
You're telling me 4 weeks ago, when all the talk in the media was about another head coach getting sacked from this club, that there was no pressure, that there hasn't been pressure to bounce back after that Essendon game, like Pommy's just said, that there hasn't been pressure around this playing group to start performing to the level that we
pressure to perform, but not pressure to make finals.
That's right.
Hold on. I'm comparing this to what we've seen in the past. And in the past, when there's been pressure on a head coach or pressure just to perform, they haven't even gotten up for that. And what I saw on Sunday against Fremantle was a team that not only solidified the prior 2 weeks against weaker opposition, you tell what you want, we were a bottom 4 club fucking 3 weeks ago as well. What we did on Sunday and the way that we dismantled that team from start to finish, for me personally, tells me everything I need to know about what has changed in this club.
We played a Hawthorn, we played a Gold Coast,
Jules,
you can't say that, Jules, because we were bottom 4. We were a bottom 4 club, and we were 6 losses on the slide going into Gold Coast. You can't say that we should have beaten anyone because we were shithouse. The profile of the way that we play changed.
We're playing free flowing footy.
Exactly.
The expectation of finals over the last 3-4 weeks hasn't been there. We'll see this week come Port whether they live up to it. And then we'll see over the next few weeks. And then we'll see come round 21, 22, 23, 24, okay, when you got the likes of Port, not Port, Melbourne and GWS, those last 2 games, because it'll be one of those games, I'm telling you now, whether we're going to need to win one of those to make finals, because we're not going to win, 5 straight or 6 straight. Not going to happen.
Hey, see that comment there is something that we hammered pre-show. That you hammered, Dan, pre-show.
I want to.
We're not going to win 7. Why can't it be us? Why can't this now be us? Because it's all there for the taking.
Without a doubt.
We haven't seen it.
We are 1 game and percentage outside of the 8 after losing 6 straight and being on the cusp of having another head coach sacked. Why can't this be us now? Tell me why.
No, it can. I said this to you last week that it can be us, and you have to have the mentality that's us. I'm just saying that the lid should not be off on this team yet, Joe, until listen, you can think what you want at the end of the day, same as Jules, same as me. It's an opinion based podcast, yeah, Joe. But listen, no, honestly, because the thing is that for me, we've seen this, and I know what you're saying that we haven't seen 4 quarters put together, but honestly, you after the West Coast game that's what I needed to see to kick off our season again. After West Coast, did you not? Did you not? That was 4 quarters of footy.
7-point win. I think we all said it, bloke. If you
Yeah,
go
no
back to the
shit.
episode.
And we didn't. And then we
Okay.
didn't.
That's fine.
Okay. So now I'm not going to jump on it yet. Listen, don't get me wrong. The lid's loose. It's very loose. But I want to see it. No, I'm not joking here. I want to see it. I want to see it against 2 of the good sides, 2 of the top 8 sides at the moment. I want to see. I want to see minimum at least a Port and a Collingwood and a Melbourne or something.
Yeah.
I
The
want
thing
those
is, against one of those teams,
2 of those 3 games, and I'll get
Correct.
naked.
Correct. But do you know what the thing is as well? We've got to take into consideration that, we've got 7 games left. 3 of them are against those sides. The other 4 sides, really, if we're serious, genuinely serious, we should be winning. Shouldn't even be blinking an eye. And then we've got to win. Sorry, how many games you got? 8 games.
7. There's 7 games.
7 games. 7. So you've got to be winning 4, plus another one of those 3 potentially.
If every
Maybe
cup
more, depending on percentage as
Jules.
well.
But so do Adelaide now. Who
Yeah, but
were
I
a
don't
moral,
see.
who were
I don't see Adelaide in there.
Hold on. But so
be
do
honest.
Adelaide, who were a moral for final. So does St Kilda, really, who were a moral after starting 8-3 or whatever they started. So I get it, right? To this point in the season, we haven't shown anything. But why can't we time our run?
We can.
Why?
No, we can.
We're not saying
There's
we
one-
can't.
We're not debating that we can't. That's completely
We're
different.
debating whether the lid's off or not. And,
I know,
and
that's
it's
right.
heavily
And
still
for you
We're
to-
on.
actually, that's not what we're saying.
Because we
For
haven't
you two,
seen
it's
it.
not, and that's fine. For you two, it's not, and that's fine. I'm not here to try to convince you, but I'm saying for me,
Because-
what I've seen, I am genuinely going week in, week out now. I will be going all in, because if you speak about this all the time, Dan, okay? The mentality of
What's
this
all in
supporter
for
base.
you? What does
Hold on,
all
hold
in
on.
mean for you?
Hold on, I'm about to tell you. You talk about this all the time, Dan, about the mentality of our supporter base and being being okay with mediocrity for too long, being okay with let's just keep it, stay on the edge a little bit, let's not get it too far ahead of ourselves, this and that. You know what? If 50,000 people show up against Port Adelaide and they have the same energy that they did against Sydney last year when we were at Marvel Stadium, we win on Saturday. I'm telling you now.
We're not.
But
disagreeing
without
with
it,
you.
that's right. Without a doubt, every single Carlton supporter
And
after
all
what you saw on the weekend is going to be excited and up and about. All I'm saying is, like last year, for example, we needed to beat a side like Adelaide to secure
Correct.
final, and
Yep.
we didn't.
Yep. The
We
difference
needed
this
to
time
beat
is
Melbourne, and we didn't. We needed
The
to
diff-
beat Collingwood, and we didn't.
the difference this time and what we
You want
have
to talk about
seen-
standards? For
Hold on, hold
me, the playing group, if they have a mentality thinking that their lid's off and that they're all home and hosed, that's their detriment, because they should be holding their standards higher and reaching and going, do you know what? It's not over until we win a premiership. It's not over until we make top 8. It's over because we beat Freo in Perth.
I'm not
Come
saying
on,
it's
man.
over. I'm not saying it's over. I'm not saying it's over at all. I'm not saying we're going to win the flag. I'm saying my lid's off in terms of this is a team that can do this. We are a team.
Yeah.
We
know that.
For once.
We've
No.
been
But
saying it for the last 3 years.
No. We've said that they should be. We've said, based on talent, based on the names on paper, we should be top 4. No, what I'm saying
Should
now
and can is potentially the same
it's
word.
not. I'm saying in this context, Jules, it's not. I'm saying it's there for the taking now. And if they can,
It was
then
last
now-
year.
But hold on. If they can, then it's there. And the difference to this year versus last year in closing out the season, and you boys both just said it then, okay? This team struggles when they've got pressure on them. There's no fucking pressure now, because if we miss finals, that was done 4 weeks ago, not what's going to
There
happen
will
in the
be
next 7
pressure.
weeks.
Okay,
I'm
if we
saying-
win 4 of the next 5 and come the last 2 games of the season to make finals, I can
course.
guarantee you
course.
there's going to be pressure.
Of course, but I'll
think
tell you
that-
now, if we win 4 of the next 5 games, it means we beat 1 of, if not 2 of, Port Adelaide and Collingwood. When we do that, that belief is through the roof, and I'll back the boys in to the end to make finals at that point. I'm saying right now, with 7 weeks to go, this is a group that has not thrived under pressure. The pressure's still not quite there. It's really not, and they're playing free, coming up against the Port Adelaide side after a big belting against Freo that are probably due for a loss. I hate it. It's a cliche, but it's what's being said. You take that level of intensity against Freo, and we're going to talk about the game in a minute, and we're going to talk about what's changed potentially in the last 3 weeks in a bit more depth once we get past this. But we're talking about coming off a win like that and doing what we did on a tough road trip. Freo beat Essendon over there 2 weeks ago. Essendon are going for a top 4 spot. Don't tell me they're a bad side over there. Don't tell me. Don't.
We never said that.
Right.
We made them look like a bad side because of the way in which we went about our footy.
And my point is,
I'm just saying, I want to see that against a top 8 side.
And
that's
my opinion.
I want to see them do it.
And I'm telling you, we will. Now, what's changed from your perspectives? Because there's been a lot of talk about this. So from whether you want to start at Gold Coast or whether you want to just look at the Fremantle game in isolation, right? Or the 3 weeks total.
No, just Freo.
Your thoughts.
Let's go on Freo.
Okay.
Talk about Freo.
Because Freo was really a culmination of what we've seen the last 3 weeks in this environment of change that has been so rapid with this club, really, from where we were after the Essendon game. What in your mind has changed on field to begin with? Where has it gone right?
Let's go into the calcs.
Nailed it this week. Bang.
Whoa.
So, boys, Voss, when was it? He said, well, even before he took over, really, in terms of actually getting into preseason, before he did for the start of last season, he said that we want a team based on pressure, okay, power, all right? Now, I'm telling you right now, the last 3 weeks, boys, we've gotten it, all right, particularly against Freo, okay? So here's some stats for you, and this is around contest. This is around pressure and manic pressure, all right? So we've got inside our forward 50, Freo's defensive 50, we had more contested possessions than them over the course of the game. We wanted it more, and I think it's because of the like of Fogarty, it's Cunners, Martin, and the like. Their manic pressure has helped, and also because of the pressure, it's allowed our mids to get forward and apply the pressure as well. All right. Also, we had 18 tackles inside forward 50. That's a season high for us. A season high. Okay. Off the back of that, we're able to set up a lot easier behind the ball. So you know what we get, boys? Repeat entries. And that's what we got over the course of the last 3 weeks. That's what we got against Freo for the first 5 to 8 minutes or so. We didn't see the reward for effort. But then, boys, after that, damn, we got it. And we got it in abundance. And to be honest, boys, we've had as well off the back of that, all right, 5 goalless quarters from the opposition in 12 the last 3 weeks. Insane.
Huge.
Insane.
It's massive. It's massive. Like I said, I can't remember a time recently where we've controlled 12 consecutive quarters of football. 12. 3 games straight from start to finish. It's been on our terms. Like, the turnaround's been insane. I don't care about the opposition that we've played. When you're coming off that sort of form in the first half of the year, to see 12 consecutive quarters of Carlton football is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I think John Longmire,
the Freo one in particular, but
I think
go Jules.
I think John Longmire before the start of the game in an interview actually said, look, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I heard it over the in terms of the reporters reporting on, or the journos reporting on the game, that Carlton's identity is back. So they were aware of it going into the game for sure.
Yep. Dan?
Personally, for me, you asked what's the biggest change, and for me, I look at it, and I've criticized the playing group a lot, and I feel as though there needed to be accountability on this playing group, and for that to happen, then you get execution. So what I mean by that is I think there's been some big questions asked on certain players. I think we've had to make some tough calls. And I think in doing so, that's allowed someone like Fogarty, someone like Cunners, someone like Kemp, someone like, who else has come in and done a role? Martin's obviously due to injury. Well, he's come back from injury as well. But these are players that can execute. And if they don't, you will be dropped. And there needs to be that standard on the playing group and fingers pointed that if you are not performing to the standard that we want you to perform to, you will get dropped. So everyone knows that if they do not perform, their head's on the chopping block. And that's what you want to see. And that's what we're seeing. You look at it. Look at that. Look at when have you? I was in awe at one stage of the game where I saw, no joke, Brayshaw had the ball from a center clearance, and there were 7 Carlton players around him.
Yeah.
I saw Fogarty, Cunningham, and Martin around Brayshaw.
Yep.
That's a work. I looked at players believing in the system that, for me personally, hasn't changed too much. We're just executing. We're finally starting to hit the scoreboard when it matters. I looked at Freo start to make a little bit of a run. I'm actually starting to get a bit hot sweats. I don't know if I'm getting a fever, but yeah, this is not good. But I looked at Freo. They started to kick 2. They kicked 2 with no reply, and then we hit back and kicked 2. That is vital. That's massive.
Dan, if you've got to step out, I'm going to say this now. If you've got to step out and go, just go. You don't have to say goodbye to anyone. Just go to bed when you're ready. Because if you start to sweat up, I don't want you to pass out on us midstream.
I will finish this podcast.
Yeah, even the like of like Sincotta and Boyd, even in the back half, obviously, their ball use is elite, but man, their one-on-one ability is sensational. Boyd had a one-on-one. I think he was the last man, and he won it, got the ball over the boundary line, then we were able to reset. So, even them, they've been role players and they've been executing with perfection.
Order with the 15. Thank you, mate. And he says we're winning against Port and Pies, and I'm with him. And just quickly before we get into this and continue, Terrence Stella asks, why am I laughing at Dan being sick? I'm not laughing. My laughing is a way of coping with a little bit of nervousness that Dan is genuinely going to pass out on us tonight, because I heard him today. I told him not to come on, and now he's telling me he's got sweats and a fever. Genuinely don't want him to pass out. That's why I'm laughing. I've got a few things written down here. So work rate, effort, tackling, pressure, intent, and intensity. That's been the building blocks for the last 3 weeks, and we saw none of that in the 14 weeks prior. Nothing. Week to week, it was a mixed bag of what you were going to get. I remember sitting at that Collingwood game with you boys when we had those 10 tickets, and we were G'd up pre-season. We were walking into that game knowing what we were walking into. I remember sitting there, and we all at one point just looked at it and went, what are we watching? Like, there was nothing identifiable about our brand whatsoever. Work rate, effort, tackling, pressure, intent, and intensity. They're the 6 words I came up with. None of those are about execution. None of those are about talent. That's all about working hard. And working hard wins you games of football. We've said it for a long time. Working hard is what got Adam Chera another 10-vote coach's performance on the weekend. Not execution by foot, working hard. And running from one end of the ground to the other to get into the spots that he needs to get into. That's Sam Walsh going on a 200-meter run just to get himself into a spot where he can affect a play. That's what this is all about. That's what these building blocks are. And if we've unlocked that, we've unlocked more than what this team has ever been able to unlock in between the years, for sure. Personnel, I'm with you, Dan. I'm with you. You got workhorses instead of talent. Cottrell, Cunners, Boyd, Chincotta, Martin, Fogarty, Owies. These aren't names that I guarantee would be in the best 22 of many other teams in this comp. They're not. But they know how to play their role, and they know how to execute in a system that is being driven into this playing group. And unfortunately, there's some that have been able to execute, and there's some that haven't. And some of those boys had talent that are going to find themselves on the outer for a long time now, because you've got guys like Lockie Fogarty, you've got guys like David Cunningham that are now fit and firing, and they will not lose their spot as long as
but they all need to know that if they don't, then their spot is up for grabs, and it needs to be like that it's based on performance.
Agree.
Yeah, for sure. But even Marty, he in the comments, Marty Sugarato, obviously with the 70 and 18 in terms of the hitouts, like even there, that's ridiculous. Obviously, Young and JSOS, obviously, in terms of their around the ground, were elite. Obviously, in the ruck, not so much. But, what's his name? Darcy had, I think it was 50 plus hit outs just to himself out of the 70. And I think it was 22 advantage. But, I think we had like 15 plus contested possessions for the day. And then off the back of that, we had 6 more clearances. So even though, they were winning the hit outs, we'll still productive around the grounds and obviously, in the clearances as well. So it just goes to show the ability of the midfielders to want to, read taps. I think there was one where I'm pretty sure it was Darcy or Jackson. I can't remember. But it was inside our forward 50 where he sort of read the tap. So Akers read the tap off, and he had a shot on goal. I think he did miss it, but it just goes to show that they're a bit more proactive now, especially inside forward 50. You see the likes of Cunners, Martin, and Fogarty be on the move around the contest. And that just causes panic and
but
chaos.
how we're using the ball. I looked at Chera pick up the ball from outside forward 50, and instead of just going long and deep, he picked a pass laterally, so we went wider, and then from there we actually hit a target. I think it might have been Kennedy about 20-30 meters out. Like, it's knowing when to go, and you see that free-flowing ability where we are playing on at all costs, and we're looking to take the game on, and we're looking to hit the corridor more than we have. And I remember Kemp tried it. It didn't work when we hit the corridor, but because we were so set up behind the ball and our pressure was relentless, it made up for that, which encouraged it. Right. And it encourages it again and again, because you have to be able to play that brave, bold brand of football to be successful. You need to. You can't play within your minutes.
I know the play you're talking about, and that was my exact thoughts about that, Dan, was that turnover off Kemp, because it was bad. Boyd had one as well. It was a direct turnover straight into the lap of Freo, and we were set up behind the ball. Everyone was committed to the turnover, and everyone was committed to making sure that we got the ball back in our hands, and we did both times. And that's something we haven't seen.
But just quickly, Joe.
Sorry, go.
No, just quickly, because, and this is what I want to talk about, is that this is what I'm saying about players and whether they're actually understanding whether they are good enough to execute is not for anything, but you look at a Boyd and you look at a Kemp, you have faith in them that they can execute. Yeah. Lewis Young, he struggled to execute. It's plain and simple. He could not move the ball out of D50, and having players and trusting in the system, it's massive. But then and I always talk about it, but scoreboard pressure, having the final product on your hard work. If those boys work their fucking ass off, but did not get the reward on the scoreboard, then that plays with your confidence. It plays with someone like Harry. If he, instead of kicking 3 goals 1, he kicks 1 goal 4, that looks very different.
Yeah. And the thing is as well, on the back of that too, in terms of the chip, when the chips are down, it's, the chips weren't down obviously in the first 5 or 8 minutes, but we weren't getting them the reward for effort. But then after that, we did. It's just being, I guess, relentless for a longer period of time before you do get that reward as well.
Dan's just coughed, so it's a good time to bring up Ulrich again. Thank you for the other 15. Dan, he loves your commitment to this podcast. And
someone told me to get cold and flu tablets.
Gavin says spend $15 on some Codral. That's true. You covered a few points there, boys. I want to go back to something Jules said. You were speaking about Fogarty, Cunners, Martin, I think it was, and Owies, and around how we're moving the ball and our pressure on the ball. For me, it's not even that. I remember watching the Collingwood game again, and we spoke about this on this podcast, this moment where Motlop went up for a hanger in the goal square when he should have stayed front and center at the feet of Charlie in a 2-on-1, right? And we're going, this is highlight reel stuff. It's Globetrotter stuff. No one wants to work for each other. I saw Cunningham put a block on at a clearance to allow Kennedy to exit into clear space through the corridor, first and foremost. And I've seen Owies, Martin, and Fogarty all front and center of every single contest in the air. None of them go up. None. They stay grounded. They stay at the front of the contest, and they're ready to pounce if the ball hits the deck. That is a massive difference in our forward half, and it's a massive difference as to why we laid 10 tackles inside 50 in the first quarter against Freo. 10. That is unheard of. Some teams lay 10 for a game. We did it in a quarter.
But that's what I'm saying, Joe, is because remember how many times did we comment and how many times did we look at, say, Durds and Motts, and we go, they're pressing, but they're running past the player to tackle.
Yeah, exactly. And Fogarty, I tell you now, Lockie Fogarty, if he keeps going the way that he's going, by the end of this year, he's going to earn himself a shiny new contract, because that is a player that has laid 5 tackles minimum every single week And I can't say the same for someone like Jesse Motlop prior to the last 3 weeks. He went games where he didn't lay a tackle as a small forward. But at the moment, I don't look at Fogarty. I don't look at Owies and Martin and go, I'm worried about the role you're going to play today. We're all looking at him going, you're just going to execute. You look at Boyd, you're going to execute one-on-one against Lockie Schultz in the goal square when you're under the pump deep, and you're going to be able to get us a rush behind. Couldn't say that for Lewis Young when he was a defender. Lewis Young, you spoke about, Dan. He goes into the ruck, and his deficiencies with ball in hand by foot are now covered up by the fact that all he has to do is get a clearance and get the ball forward.
That's it.
And he's been so much better, man. So much better, just competing.
I think we sort of simplified the game as well a little bit as well in the case for a lot of players as well. So, obviously with Young, it's a little bit more simplified now. It doesn't really have to worry about exiting D50 by foot. Going in the ruck, all he needs to do is compete. He's not really a bona fide ruckman. All he needs to do is compete. Same as JSOS at this moment, have a bit of a pinch hit down forward here and there as well. So
yeah. I'll put my hand up on Jack Silvani. He's put together 2 very, very good games. Hammered him a few weeks back. And I think, to be honest, rightly so, because the first 14 weeks wasn't anything to cry home about. But I'll tell you what, if he is going to keep playing that ruck role like that, I think he only had 2 hit outs or something. So it wasn't, from a rucking perspective, it wasn't blowing your socks off. But like a few people have said in the comments here, the ability to compete when the ball hits the deck and have a 5th midfielder, essentially, or a 4th midfielder at a centre bounce is what ultimately got us across the line in that midfield battle. We won the clearances, but we lost the hit-outs comprehensively. And I think Jack needs some credit there. His effort and work rate's never dropped off, and that should always be non-negotiable as effort and work rate, right? So, and that's always been the string to Jack's bow. What he's done the last 3 weeks or 2 weeks has been a little bit more than that. He's executing, he's playing a role, and he's being effective in that role. It's not just going out there to give work rate and effort. And you can look at that after a loss and go, well, at least he tried. So he has been affecting the game, and I'm happy to see JSOS back into that sort of form. Who was the biggest standout for you? Because obviously it was a massive team effort, boys, right? And we've spoken about team a lot to this point. Who really stood out for you on the day?
Isn't this our votes?
Well, no.
I know what he means. A bit separate to
more so like who was really the game breaker for you? As team oriented as it was there anyone that really stood out to you to go, at the end of the day, we looked to him when we needed him?
If I looked at there's 2 players for me. If I looked at a tone setter, it'd be Walsh and Weeders.
Yeah. For me, like
Walsh
I think Walsh is in the votes. So it's hard, and even Weeders potentially could be in as well in terms of his obviously one-on-one ability, intercept marking, and his foot skills as well. But there's probably one player for me. I don't even know if he hit the scoreboard, to be honest with you. But the one player is Martin. There was a big hit on.
Yep.
What's the defender's name? 25.
Alex Pearce.
Alex Pearce, big hit. I think it was in the 3rd quarter, and just things like that. And his tenacious ability, but even his foot skills and his footy smarts as well. Just, he's one of those players that, he doesn't need many, but can do a lot. And doesn't even need to touch the ball. It's just his tackling ability and his pressure. And then even just his work rate to support his teammates. I just think he was a standout in terms of those kinds of things. So, I applaud him for those for sure.
I just want to add, I think with wanting to be successful, I think that with what we saw is that you don't need one standout. I think if you look at our team and you look at the contribution of everyone stood up.
For sure.
Like I even look at Harry. Like I look at Harry and we've seen what Harry's done, like further down the ground, etc. But obviously he's hit the scoreboard now. I think everyone's just, you can't. I think singling out one player that stood out would be an injustice to how well and how evenly spread the contributors were over the side. Yeah,
it was. Which is what
I think that's going to be important, though. I think that's going to be important when you're coming up against. We can't have any passages when you're coming up against the Port, against the Collingwood, against
I feel you have to take into consideration too for the first half of the season, maybe before the Gold Coast game. Our top 5 or 6 players in terms of performing week in, week out didn't. the Gold Coast Hawthorn now, the Freo game, the likes of Walsh, Cripps, Chera's probably been doing it, for the majority of the season, but the others probably haven't, with the likes of Harry, Charlie, Wiedering, obviously in defense, and then you go through the middle with the likes of Walsh and Cripps. Obviously they're performing now probably to the expectations or close enough. And then the brigade underneath them obviously following as well in terms of obviously Chera continuing that evolution, Doherty as well. And then obviously you got the likes of, we've already mentioned them, in terms of the likes of obviously Fogarty, Martin, even the likes of like Cotters as well, putting in, a few weeks as well. Obviously missed the last game, but and as well as Boyd and Sincotta, all the bottom six are performing off the back of, the top six,
Joe,
which is good signs as well.
Jules, Joe, do you remember against, who was it against, where Lockie O'Brien had that kick to Harry and then he didn't worry about his defensive duties and we ended up getting caught out? Yeah. The difference for me in this game was the selflessness of every player to work for their teammate. And that, for me, is the foundations to being successful.
Said it on socials 2 weeks ago. Selfish has become selfless with this team very, very quickly. Very quickly.
But I guarantee...
I don't know what's changed. Sorry, I don't know what's changed. But if you've listened to... Some people like to take context out of post-match press conferences and whatnot. Some people don't. I'm actually usually a person that doesn't, but I've listened to Voss the last 2 weeks specifically, right? I usually don't read too much into this stuff, but I've listened to both press conferences quite closely the last 2 weeks. And if we're talking about selfish becoming selfless, it's been very easy to read between the lines. And I think you know what I'm talking about, Jules, because I know you watch the post-match presses as well. It's been very easy to read between the lines with Voss in giving credit to the players in this turnaround. Now, whether that means there was fractures, whether that means whatever it is, right? We're not here to spread rumors and whatnot, right? We don't know what happens. But if you're reading between the lines and if you're giving players that much credit, and if they're going to, mid-season kumbaya sessions at the Kerno farm, right? There's been tough conversations had behind closed doors that these players have been able to work things out internally. And for me, as much as we've hammered the players, especially you and I, Dan, throughout the year, you've got to give them credit because the turnaround for me has been on field. It hasn't been sacking board members and that's gotten rid of the toxicity from top down. It hasn't been sacking coaches and moving things around. It has been the players taking full accountability for results, as Wiedering said publicly, as a leader of the club, him turning his own form around and leading on field, now all of a sudden catapulting into AA selection territory. It's been player driven for me that has turned this around. And this is why 6 weeks ago I was getting so frustrated with the talk around the head coach from wherever it was coming from, because you've got to give this shit time. You have to. We've got a leader of men in that box. He may not be a tactician, but he's a leader of men. And for me, on the weekend, the one person that I'll look to is Michael Voss for, if you want to call it, giving them the keys or giving them a little bit more freedom. That is a coach that we have not seen. Like, we haven't seen a coach do that when this club's been under pressure. And if you want to look at Sunday, it's not tactically driven for me. Not much has changed. I'm with you, Dan. I don't think much has actually changed, purely down to execution. And that is just being able to instill the belief back into this group under some pretty tough fucking times, boys. It's been hard to do this podcast this year. Yeah, we can all say this, right? Under some pretty tough times, that he's been able to instill this belief back into this group, regardless of opposition, but to string 3 games together under all that turmoil. For me, that's where I'll look to. And you've got to give him the credit where it's due, as much as you wanted to fucking lay into him when the results weren't going our way.
Yeah,
plain and simple.
100%. But also, and how many times have we spoken? This is what I'm saying, that when you're seeing product of and what we witnessed against Freo, look at Hansen. We're all criticizing Hansen.
Exactly. Yeah.
He changes now the look of our forward line. Look at even the way in which Charlie and Harry are moving inside forward 50. and the way in which you've mentioned, Joe, that you've got disciplined smalls staying forward to center, and now I'm the biggest critic of Hansen, but I have to put my hand up to him because what I saw, it was complete execution. We had, how many tackles did we have in forward 50, Jules? Stats?
18.
Bang.
18.
To their what?
Yeah.
8? To their 8?
No, I think so, yeah. See, and 100%, I think we're getting a lot of things right now in terms of our selection, even in terms of our defense. I think we're going less tall, obviously with not having Young there, and obviously having Gov and Kemp. They give us a bit more versatility in terms of who they can play on and who they can match up on. And even in terms of exiting D50, obviously with Sincotta, Boyd, Doherty, Sard, and then obviously with the like of Kemp and Gov with their foot skills and speed as well, because they do have it as well in abundance. So I think obviously, selection's been key, methods been key as well. So, and another thing too, we've got to take into consideration is Russell as well. Martin's back, Cunners is back, put a few games together. Marshbank's been able to back it up in the VFL as well the last 3-4 weeks that he's been able to play, and by all reports, on the weekend he's been playing well. So even in that instance as well. But we'll see. Obviously, we've got 7 games to go, and we'll see what happens.
I mean, yeah, with the Russell one and high performance, that's still, for me, that's TBC, because 3 games is 3 games. If they can put together 10, it's like, well, you know what, maybe they've got it under control. Maybe high performance is back on the agenda in a big way. But to just see them getting through games unscathed is nice. It is nice, because I can't remember the last time we had this sort of continuity in the list, really.
But that's also because you've got every person in that 22 pulling their weight.
Yeah, exactly right. It's just, boys, I think from all of this, whether the lid's on or the lid's off, whatever, we had that little discussion at the start, right? Bit of piss take, this and that. But at the end of the day, I think we can all agree it's just nice at the moment, right? 3 games on the trot, coming up against Port Adelaide with a little bit of confidence now, whereas probably 4 weeks ago we looked at this game dreading it. Like, this is a nice spot to be in this part of the season, and only a game out of the 8. That's how quickly things can change. And I think it just gives you perspective going forward if we're ever at the lowest of lows, but also probably something I need to take on is to give you a bit of perspective at the highest of highs, or when you feel like you're at the highest highs, to remember that it can go back the other way very quickly too. Regardless, the lid's off for me, and I'm still gonna
equilibrium.
Yeah, not for me. Not at this point. There's no point. Well, what are we investing in if there's equilibrium now? Boys, votes, and then we'll get to some Blues cues. I've got graphics this week, which is it's good because I got this laptop back, which is nice. First time I've been able to do this. So there you go.
Accountability, good.
Yeah, very good. Who's starting?
I'll go. Walsh, I think he had 30 plus, a goal, a lot of score involvements. I think he had like 23 or something like that up to half time. So especially early, but you could see his gut running. There was one involvement where he ran from D50, ran about 60, 70 meters, got the hard ball get, dished it off. I think he dished it off or hit someone inside the center square. And then obviously we head inside forward 50, kicked the goal. And then there was even that passage of play against Brayshaw as well, where he got the lead. He ran, I reckon, 200 meters, like you said, Joe. So it was ridiculous in terms of his work rate, sort of set the standards. I've got 2 votes. Harry, I just felt like as if he competed all day, kicked the 3, probably could have kicked more, to be honest with you. And yeah, I think he's, especially the last 3-4 weeks, really, really has had a good body of work, and hopefully towards the end of the season, he can sort of continue to hit his straps. And then Chera, I don't know. I think with Chera as well, probably, he had, I think, what did he have, Joe, in terms of efficiency? Like 50?
No, I think it was only like, it was one of the least efficient players on the ground.
Yeah, well, one of the least efficient
by
players.
disposal.
Yeah,
but his
correct.
effectiveness was still fucking through the roof. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. But in terms of that, like, he had like 3 assists, 9 score involvements, 11 inside 50, 6 tackles, 6 clearances, and he kicked a goal, so, and had like 30 odd possessions to go along with it. So, and yeah, he's just tenacious. I love the way he goes about it. A real good get. And I think he's only 23. So, ridiculous what we're going to be able to see over the next few years once he matures as well.
Future captain of this football club. Mark it down. Remember this. Back it in. And yeah, that disposal efficiency stat, that's something that Pommy's been big on for a long time, is that, it's not in isolation. It's never good to look at because you can't look at what those disposals are actually doing. And the way that Champion Data tracks disposal efficiency is a little bit questionable as well. So, he got 10 coaches' votes and he was apparently the least efficient by hand or foot on the ground. So I didn't have Ches in the votes. Unfortunately, I couldn't get him in because I wanted to just give a couple of votes to Weeders, who probably wasn't he probably wasn't in the top 3 on the day, but I feel like he's earned this for the last 6 weeks and what he's come off of, and the form that he was in 6 weeks ago. And a lot of people calling for him to be dropped. I was one of them. I think I said it at one point. I thought he needed a spell, but that's a true leader there, boys. That's a vice captain of this football club that knew he was under the pump, gritted his teeth, got through it, bit of resilience, and he's come out the other side now seriously in AA contention from, compared to 6 weeks ago. We were talking about him falling off a cliff and maybe he's done, So I felt like he needed some recognition. I had Walsh for 1, Weeders for 2. And then Harry, this was the performance that Harry needed. He put it all together. We've spoken about many times on this podcast, especially you and I, Dan, on Harry. Actually, Jules too, you've said the same thing. We've all sort of said it. He's doing everything right except for his goal kicking. And he got the goal kicking right as well on Sunday. And that's the Harry that we need every single week. He had 20 disposals. He was involved in, I think he had 8 or 9 score involvements again, direct goal assist, 3 goals, 1. Like, if that was Jeremy Cameron, everyone would be talking about the 20 disposal Jeremy Cameron performance on the weekend. I think Harry needs to be spoken about in that vein from a Fremantle game.
Yeah, beautiful. I wanted to speak about Harry as well, but you pretty much covered it there, Joe. But I just think, for me, it was very stiff not to get 2. It was out of him and Cripper. But honestly, how we criticize this guy so much, not us, but there was so much criticism, but with this guy, and for him to have a performance of 3 goals, he had 20 disposals, 7 score involvements, 3 contested marks. The guy, has Joe's screen just gone, Jules?
No.
Oh, no. You're right. No,
Damn it.
I thought your screen was gone.
Those days are past us, boys. Those days are
ready to
past
hammer.
us.
No, but he's definitely worthy of votes. Cripper, I thought he was back to that bullish best that we see from him, and that we'd seen from him all last year. And then Walshy, it's how this guy was using the ball. Walsh is back in the biggest way, I'm telling you, because the way this guy was using the pill and the spark that he provided us. Yeah, but it's the spark that he provided us, and what he did is just, the guy was going back to that sort of, like, remember how we were talking to him as generational, like what you saw from him there. He just owned the game. It was just, for me, a complete standout.
Zev Gordon asked if Dan gets a vote for pushing through. There's been a few comments around this. Based on the comments, it looks like Dan gets 3, Jules gets 2, and I'm not even sure I get a vote from anyone watching live, to be honest, tonight. I think they're a little bit shitty with me, but that's all right. It is what it is. I'll give 1 vote to Pommy. He's been very active in the comments tonight. It's good. That's good, boys. I think we've covered that well. I think we've covered it well. It's lost it. I think the fever's setting in. Look at him. Votes leaderboard. Chera's just out to an unassailable lead at this point, 53 votes. Walshy's come up into second place, 26 votes behind him. And you got Charlie, Cripper, and Harry rounding out the top 5 for our MVP for the year. But it looks like Ches has this one locked in.
Do you reckon we can send Ches a salami if he wins?
Oh, yeah, cool. I reckon he'd love it. Yeah,
that's good. That's good.
Yeah, we'll try and
get. If anyone knows his address, let us know, and we'll send him a salami.
No, we'll just rock up to Icon.
We'll try and get to open training or something with a salami and just give it to him. So you've won our bet, and we'll do a little video with him, just a presentation. I reckon he'll love that more than an AA Guernsey, because that salami's fucking unbelievable, man. All right, we've got some Blues cues quickly before we get to Liddy and before we get this preview. This show is going to go a little bit longer. Dan, like I said, if you need to leave, this show probably wasn't supposed to go this long, but if you need to leave, feel free whenever you do. Just
Stop
don't pass
saying it,
out.
bloke. You're drawing attention to it all the time. Just let me
I'm
be.
worried. I'm just worried. Blues Qs, if you are watching live, please leave any questions you've got. We'll try and get to them now. We're going to try and get through this pretty quickly because we've still got a bit to cover. But off the Instagram, Chris Vitz, do we not bother with another ruckman and back our pressure and ground ball, boys? Yes or no? For Port,
No, I think we do.
Dylan Fields
I
asked
think
the
we
same
do.
thing. Do we play better without rucks?
I mean, I still think I wouldn't mind a bit of service as well.
Yep. True.
Yeah.
And I think ruckman, especially these days. I know Pito and TDK, they should be able to apply the pressure. It's whether they want to or not.
Yeah. Lockie McKinnon, lid is creeping. Bradley Cass, can we talk about finals yet? Curtis Diorio, maybe we should have taken the email regarding the grand final packages a bit more seriously. Yeah. Don't mind that one. Did you guys get that email during the week?
We did. My dad was burning. He's like, what the hell? Are they serious?
Oh, my God. Alessandra Cabion, she's been a long-time listener. How much are we beating Port by? We'll get to that in a minute. Jimmy Gregg, I've lost the lid. Rave Cakes, great win, lost the lid. There's a few lids that are gone. Sylv Cassano, here we go. He makes it on the show.
Oh, no.
Did Cripps play? Asking for a friend. He didn't just play. He was in the coach's vote, Sylv. So I don't know what game you were watching. What else have we got here? Zena, the Redeemer. We've changed our forward line. Do we need to give Voss some praise? I think we just covered that with Hanton and Voss and the changes made there, which is good. What else have we got? Oliver Lynch. Is it simply the case that we can beat anyone when we apply ourselves? Yes. Oliver Lynch is in the comments here as well, I think. But yeah, I think that is the case. I think on our day, and we've said this all night, we can beat that performance on Sunday. And Pommy will back this up because he looks at stats and numbers, and he's the numbers guy. He's the guy that looks at trends and whatnot. Pommy will back this up when I say that I don't think any other team would have beat us on Sunday, based purely on numbers. And not just like a basic stat sheet. I'm talking patterns and trends throughout the game. Just correct me if I'm wrong, Pom, if you're even listening. I don't even know. What else we got? Shannon Gore, how's the lids? Barely hanging on. Harry VDZ, is Chera God? Well, I'll tell you what, in that number 5 with a shaved head, there's something about that jumper with a shaved head, man. It's looking like Chris Judd more and more every day. Seriously. Oh, my God. Libo Jr., is the salami good to go? Almost, very soon. And we will crack open the salami, I think, for the 100th ep, which is going to be good. I think it's going to be ready right about that time.
Are we going to announce the sponsor, Joe?
We'll share some more details at the end of this around the 100th ep and the sponsor. Cool. That's it. We'll leave Blues Qs there for the night. Now, before we get into the preview,
they're not really Blues Qs.
Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not.
Statements.
We get more questions when we lose. We get more comments when we win. And it's just blowing when we win. Anyway, before we get to the preview, Livy's last word.
Hey guys, it's Livy with Livy's last words, and this is what I thought about the game. Let's go. I'm so happy the boys won by 53 points. I mean, starting off the match, I was completely nervous. You know, we're fumbling the ball a lot, and yeah. I mean, I'm so happy. Second quarter was amazing. Third quarter was amazing, but the fourth quarter, at the start of the fourth quarter, I was so nervous when they got that goal. I was nervous. Knowing Colton, that could have easily lost. So I was very nervous in the fourth quarter. But 53 points is amazing. And it's good to see that we're actual 11th on the ladder, not freaking 15th or some like that. But I must say, all the boys played very amazing. And happy 100th game to Newman and Charlie Kerno. Hope they had a good 100th game. I mean, Newman played it very well, I must say. And yeah, the defense was very good, but sometimes we're just a bit slacking in the defense. But you know, our forwards just amazing. Mids are absolutely amazing. Chera, it was actually sad that Kennedy was playing good, so we'll Saudi came off the field, and always Walshy. Walshy's very good. Walshy was my favourite player of today's match. 32 disposals, and I must say, Cripper, good job, you played very good. And yeah, I was just so happy for the boys. We needed this win, but next match we have got Port Adelaide. Damn, we're not going to win, but at least trying next match and not getting smashed would be amazing. Like, we might lose, but not getting smashed would be better. But anyways, Kerno with 3 goals, Harry with 3 goals. I'm just the happiest goal scorer alive right now. Like, yeah, but the boys, they played very good. I'm very proud of them. Cripper was very excited, which is good. And yeah, oh yeah, Sardi played good. Sardi did play very good. And yeah, that's what I thought of the game. Go the Blues!
She's back in form, Liddy.
No, but
that was the best, I reckon.
yeah, it definitely was. She makes me laugh though because her analysis has gotten better and better each week.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. She actually
But
sees the
she
game.
always she has one or two comments where I went, that same game.
Which comment was that this time?
We'll fumbling the ball at the start and stuff. And
I thought the
To
same
be fair,
thing.
both teams were a bit fumbling.
Jack Martin was fumbling early. Maybe that's
Yeah.
what she was. Anyway, she is getting a lot better. Like if you listen to Livy when she was 3 years younger, when we first started doing this with her, it was literally just the mind of a child. Now she's actually seeing the game. She's actually breaking it down. It's good.
If just for all the listeners, if you see us at the game, she'll be with us this weekend.
She will be.
She's coming down. Yep,
she will be. Just a few more Blues cues quickly before we get into the preview. Peter asks, if the Blues beat Port and Collingwood, would we all shave our heads like Ches? Anyone want to commit to that? No, didn't think so. We've all got beautiful heads of hair on this podcast. It's not happening.
I've got an egg-shaped head. I look like Adam Sandler.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Pommy had a question as well, but I've lost it. All right. Preview. Another game and a big one. That should say Port Adelaide preview, not round 17. What time we got? 4:35 p.m. Saturday, Marvel Stadium, I believe. So the graveyard shift, which is the graveyard shift in footy anyway, that 4:35 game. But I reckon there's going to be a decent crowd there, boys. Saturday. That's all I'll say.
Take it to them. I don't want to see no tagging of Butters, no tagging of Rosie, no nothing. I want it mano y mano. Is that the right saying? Yep.
Spanish.
That reminds me of Adam Sandler. I think it's in The Water Boy.
It is.
In The Water Boy.
Is it? Is it, Jules?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I want us to go at him. I want to go. Then let's do it. Let's bring it.
Yeah, I think it's got to go head to head, don't we, in the midfield? I think I mean, we'll get into our ins and outs obviously later, but I think our ability in the contest, especially to get the ball to the outside in the hands of a Walsh, in the hands of a Chera, and our outside runners. And you've been seeing a lot of, forward handballs and even getting the run from the halfback, like behind the midfielders, so especially from the centre clearances. I think we can get that game going again and get the relentless pressure inside forward 50, get repeat entries. I think we're gonna be on, boys, because they got some key defenders out.
Yep.
Yeah, they
Houston's
do.
out as well.
Houston's
apparently.
out.
Right?
Houston's out. Yep.
Houston's out. McKenzie, I think, injured as well. Ankle doesn't look like he'll get up as well. So I think if we can get the ball in quick, get in early, into the likes of Harry and Charlie, I think we're going to be on.
Just being ruthless and being brave, boys. That's what we need.
I genuinely think there is no better time that we could have got Port Adelaide. What are they? Is it 14 games now straight or 13? 14.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, 13, 14, yeah.
Few injuries, due for a loss. I know it's a cliche, but
away from home for them.
At this point, away from home, stars are aligning, boys, and I'm with you. I think if we just, and these 6 words, work rate, that's 2 words. So 7 words. Work rate, effort, tackling, pressure, intent, intensity. You bring that on Saturday, and I think we can genuinely get this done.
Yeah. I think they've been pretty good at Marvel, though, for a bit.
That's the other thing. They've got the longest. How's this for a Cassano's calc?
Yeah. I've seen it
winning
before.
streak. They've got the longest winning streak current at Marvel. I think it's like 11. And the next best is like 2 or 3. An interstate club has the longest winning streak at Marvel. That tells you that we need to get out of Marvel Stadium as our home ground very, very quickly. Very quickly. That's all that says to me. But that's another one, Jules. How many can they keep winning there, really?
Yeah.
If you look at the numbers game and the numerology, everything's in our favour from a superstitious standpoint, if you believe in that sort of shit. I'm with you. Head-to-head in the midfield. Our 1 wood is better than their 1 wood. You said it pre-show, Jules. Yes?
I thought you froze for a second. Yeah, no, I did. Honestly, like I said, I thought you froze for a second. I'm like, oh, I've got to take over again. Oh, what a shame. Honestly, I think we really will. I think we really will. Like I said, if we can actually genuinely bring that game again, have that relentless pressure, I think we're going to be onto something. But it's just whether we're going to be able to do it for 4 quarters. I don't think 3 quarters will be enough, because I think Port, if they do just have a quarter, and the quarter that we sort of let them off the chain a little bit, I think it can be to our detriment. So it's got to be a 4-quarter game.
You talk about pressure. Guarantee if Mackenzie and Houston are they guaranteed outs?
I don't know if it's guaranteed.
Oh, well,
Jules probably knows more on that front, but anyway, it's suspected.
The pressure will be on
more
us.
Suspected, but I'm pretty sure they're out.
Pressure will be on us.
Oh, for sure.
And that's where we'll need to stand up.
Yeah.
Hey, one thing I don't want to see, Ed Kerno as a sub, because I think Hewitt's going to come in for Kennedy. I don't want to see Ed.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll have the same ins and outs, so go for it, Dan.
Well, we've got, so obviously Kennedy went, what is it, medial? Are we suspecting?
We don't know yet. I'm not sure.
Yeah, hasn't been reported.
He obviously definitely felt it straight away, so I felt for him because he was having a belter of a game. Obviously, Youngie out for TDK. Don't get me wrong. Like you mentioned that Youngie put his body around and competed, but I think we need a bit more in there. Like you mentioned, Jules, I think we need to actually win some hitouts. I think we need to have it on our terms. That's why I had TDK there. And then obviously, yeah, Hewitt straight swap, sort of like for like. I think obviously Kennedy hits the scoreboard a bit more, but you're not going to complain about it. It's just whether Hewitt's going to give you Hewitt's best, isn't it? Like, because that's the biggest question mark at the moment.
Well, George. The last full game he played was 2 weeks ago in the VFL, I think, and he hasn't played a full game at AFL level.
That's what I mean.
Before the Sydney game, so could be a little bit out of touch. But I don't think we've got anyone else to look to really.
Do you think it's
that defensive 2-way runner that Kennedy's been?
If I see Ed Kerno as a sub, I think it's very backwards from us.
It wouldn't surprise me, just because they probably think Hewitt may not get through 4 quarters. That's all.
That's not them.
That could be their line of thinking, but I think there's probably others. There's probably more in the VFL that are probably a bit more deserving, don't you think? Or deserving, sorry.
Who?
To play the sub role over Ed. That can give us a little bit more. I mean, Dow, I know he was concussed obviously last week and the VFL didn't play, but he's probably a player that, you know what, in terms of being a sub, he's probably going to perform and give us more than possibly than what an Ed or a Hollins. Yeah. He did play. He was successful over the weekend in terms of, I think he had 24. Yeah, he had 24.
There you go.
Touches. And then even a Carroll as well, been performing in a bins. I know he's been obviously. I think he had 32. I think Carroll had 32 as well over the weekend as well.
Carroll could be one,
and Bins had a goal as well.
Yeah. Carroll could be one.
I think there's more deserving players that could potentially give us more, especially when the game is in the balance and it's a bit more space because players are fatigued. I just don't think Ed will give us much.
He can't run with the likes of Butters and Rose. The pace that Port go at, like he just can't. He can't run with them. He just can't. We need a lot more speed, a lot more, if we're going to be competitive. Especially if George, can't get through a full game.
True. Yeah, I think we're all on the same line of thinking there. Okay. This is big. This is it. From like this week's really it. If we can win this week, I think the lid off is looking good. But not just that. I think if we can win this week, it just marks. We said the Freo game solidified the prior 2 weeks. I think if we do what we did again against Port Adelaide, who have been by far and away the best side outside of Collingwood this year, you do that again and you win against them, it doesn't just solidify what we've seen in the last 3 weeks. It marks genuine change, and that this is now a trend for me. Like, this is now a pattern if you can beat a team like this. So this is huge. I'm expecting 40, 50,000 there Saturday. If we can't get 40 or 50,000 there screaming their lungs out, I'll be disappointed. There's a few people who've had a crack tonight at all three of us about jumping off after the Essendon game. I think we said we wouldn't go back to games, but it is what it is. We're emotional. We're upset. Everyone was. We're never leaving. We've done almost 100 episodes of this shit. We're not going anywhere.
We love this club too much.
Fuck. Now, speaking of almost 100 episodes before we finish off, yes, Dan, you mentioned earlier, we have, if you want to, either of you two want to take this?
Yeah. So we've got a new sponsor. I don't understand why that's funny. Okay. I can do.
A bit of energy.
So, got a new sponsor, Vortep clothing brand. Check them out. They're obviously new and up and coming in Melbourne and Australia. He's actually a friend of ours, isn't he, Jules?
Very close friend.
Very close friend of ours.
Just yesterday.
Check out his stuff. I use it for my business. He's actually got quality. You boys have seen it. His gear's actually really good. Yeah.
I've had it on, and it's very high quality, I can assure you.
Top notch. And you'll see us with the merch each week once we can get some merch in our hands from Vortep. And it's high quality stuff. Dan's not someone that changes much about his business too often, unless he has to. And he changed his whole uniform once he saw how high quality these kits were. So you're going to see us in the Vortep uniform.
It's like being in a sleeping bag, guys.
Yep, there you go. You'll be able to. There's going to be a few things happening with Vortep to finish out the year. Obviously, primary sponsor, and it's fantastic for the show because it's been a long time coming. But it does mark the 100th episode as well. We're going to maybe do some limited edition merch, which you've all been asking for at various points throughout the last few months. So there will be some merch coming to finish off this year to mark 100 episodes of this podcast, which is a good shout, boys. Some special codes for listeners and all these sort of things, which, it's taken us 100 episodes, but we've got our ass into gear eventually. I reckon it's just because we're shit. No one wanted to promote with us because we're just dickheads.
or maybe because the segment Pov Predicts was on there and it was with sports bet and no one wanted to get around it.
Yeah, we've been that, thankfully, because Dan, what is it? Not Happy Dan is much better. Much, much better. Boys, final predictions before we finish, and let's try and keep it unbiased.
Carlton by 5.
Goals.
By 9
points.
Goals.
Carlton by 9.
Blues by 30. That's where I'm at. I'm fucking sick. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Boys, thank you for tonight. It was a pleasure.
It's been unreal.
It actually has been.
It's been real good.
It's been really fun.
Yeah.
Dan, well done for getting through.
Thanks,
and
guys.
for everyone
Thanks
that's tuned in. Huh?
I just want to thank everyone for the support. It's tough today.
Dan will be fit and firing by Saturday. You'll be fit and firing by tomorrow.
Just go have some grappa. You'll be all right.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have some grappa now. Burn everything.
Beautiful. Boys, until next week, up the baggers.
Let's go, boys.